Hello everybody, welcome to Smile Comics. On this episode, we're going to learn how to draw Thanos. On my last video, somebody requested that I do a video on how to draw Thanos, so here it is, and I hope you enjoy. Alright everybody, so if I go too fast during this tutorial, I'll be putting up overlays during this video like I do with all my other videos, so if I go too fast, feel free to pause it and examine kind of what I did there. So starting off, we're going to start here with a circle. With this circle, keep in mind that his face is going to be about double this size. This is just going to be kind of the guidelines of where his eyes and nose and things are going to lie. Now, after you get, a circle done here, we're going to draw a vertical line going down. It's going to be a little bit curved, and it's going to be about a third to the left of the circle. Next, we're going to move on to the eye lines. We're almost going to draw a cage around his head. And these are going to be two lines here. They're going to be a little bit off center up from the circle horizontally. Once we have that, I'll kind of draw a line. It's almost like a fifth to the right of the circle, and then another line signifying where his nose is going to be. Okay, and that one's about a fourth from the bottom. Once we have that, I'll draw another line here. This one's going to be curved a lot more to show me where his eyes are going to end, like his brows are going to be. So I'll put up an overlay here so you guys can examine that. And then we'll move on to the next step here. So now I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer for you guys to get a better look. And we're going to start working on the more finer details of his face. So I'm going to start with his eyes here, and we're going to put them where we put those two horizontal lines there. And the top one's going to signify where his eyebrow starts. When drawing this brow, it's actually a part of his helm or his cowl thing, and it's kind of like a trapezoid that's pointed down, and then kind of like a weird mustache curve, or like a Nike swoosh that's inverted on each side, kind of sticking off, and that's the bottom of the actual metal brow. And his eyeballs, the top of them is going to be more rounded than the bottom, because we're actually going to draw this from us looking up at him and him kind of looking down at us. So the bottom of the eyeballs have to be kind of straight, and the top of them have to be curved. We'll draw a little kind of plate here on the bridge of his nose, or the top part of his nose in between his two eyebrows. Now, when I draw this stuff, I'm drawing it a little dark here so you guys can see it, but usually you want to draw this kind of light because we'll be inking it later. And I'll draw in some wrinkles for the top of his nose here because we want him to look kind of angry. These wrinkles are just little lines that are curved lines. And for his nose, we're just going to kind of hint that it's there. We don't want to over render it too much. And what I like to do is draw the left nostril as kind of part of his the divot in between your top lip there on each side of your upper lip. It's gonna kind of go into that nostril, and then we're gonna draw curves on each side to signify where his nostrils are. Okay, and now we're gonna move on to his little upper eyebrow metal plate area. These are kind of like they're almost horns. I've seen a lot of people draw this as either horns or metal plating or something. I didn't want to exaggerate it too much because I didn't like the horn look, but you want to keep these almost parallel to each other, so you could almost draw a kind of an arc from the two tips of the horns if you wanted. And you want to keep that in mind when drawing these, and make sure the left one is foreshortened a little bit. So you want to draw a little bit more squished than the one on the right, because the left side of his face is going to be a little bit, farther away from us. So here, I'm going to put a little bit of rendering underneath his eyes, because Thanos is kind of an older character, so he's going to have some wrinkling under his eyes. And I'll just kind of put some kind of quick lines there and some curved lines to kind of show that he has some bags. And when drawing his cheekbones, he has very high cheekbones, so you don't want to exaggerate them too much and make them poke out too far. So make sure they're a little bit kind of in line with the edges of his eyebrows when drawing these things, and they kind of look like a sickle or something. And you want to keep these somewhat in line with the brows and bring them in, and you're gonna give him a big upper lip. A lot of kind of muscular characters in Marvel and things like in any comic books really have that big upper lip. If you look at any like Hulk drawings, he usually has that big upper lip, so we want to make sure you give Thanos that big heavy upper lip. And kind of towards the bottom of the circle here, you'll see me draw another arc, and that's going to be his bottom lip protruding out, because he's going to have that legendary big chin. So we're going to give him this big chin here, and it's going to be sticking out just as much as his cheekbone is, and we'll draw the rest of his cowl that kind of follows down the side of his face. And we're actually going to put a metal trim on the side of his mask there, his face cowl. So we'll put some metal trim there. We'll show a little bit of the bottom of his chin. Now, doing these chin lines can kind of be tricky, but just kind of keep an eye out here how I make this work. We'll draw in a placeholder here for his the metal. He kind of has like Frieza ears. If you guys ever watched Dragon Ball Z, they had those kind of circular ears, and so he kind of has that, but it's all metal there on the side of his head, and you want to make sure that's kind of off to the right. If you remember the layout lines I put on before I started kind of rendering him out, I put that line there to give me an idea of where his ear is going to be. So when now I'm rendering out his bottom lip, we want it to be sticking up and over his top lip. So I'm putting in these ridges in there with it, and then in between all those ridges, I'll start drawing lines, kind of following the curvature of his jawline there. And you want to make sure it contours to his chin. So when it kind of gets towards the middle of his face, they kind of start straightening out a little bit. Like this line I'm drawing here now is a lot straighter than the other lines to the left and to the right of it. And you just want to make sure you're giving that illusion that his chin is curved and it has these wrinkles in it. You want to make it look kind of gross, really. And we'll follow the rest of his cowl down the side of his face. When drawing this, you want to make sure it goes underneath the chin, because we're going to show him, you know, looking down at us once again. So I'll finish here kind of drawing in this cowl, and you'll be able to see this once I start shading this in. Here I'm doing some fancy line works because I wanted it to look like it was some kind of metal decorations on the side of his head, but you don't have to do that. You can keep it simple and just do a metal trim all the way up the side, or you can just make it just one solid piece of like blue fabric covering up the side of his face. So I'll draw in the rest of his chin there. You can see his jawline. He has a very defined jawline, but the bottom of his head is going to have a little bit of a bow to it. And I'll draw some extra lines to kind of show his cowl there. I'll draw an arc. I'll finish up his ear here, kind of give it more of a defined shape. It's just a circle that's kind of squished a little bit, like an oval. I don't know why I said squish circle, but it's an oval that's kind of squished a little bit. We'll start kind of following it up on the other side. If you're familiar with Dragon Ball Z, once again, it's kind of like Frieza's ear from Dragon Ball Z. A lot of the characters in Dragon Ball Z had those ears. So we'll finish up his jaw here, draw the side of his head. That line is going to be coming straight off the edge of the circle. And for his forehead, he's going to have a little bit of a design here. It's going to be a triangle basically with the top cut off, and we're going to make it look a little bit 3D, like it's coming out. And that center line there is going to be, we're going to use that center line to kind of guide where this metal plating that's going to decorate the center of his forehead is going to be. And we're going to make it look like an arrow pointing down toward the center of his face. We'll put a little edge on it to make it look a little bit 3D, like it's metal plating that's bent onto his helm. I'll put a little bit of shading there as a placeholder for later when I'm gonna ink, and I'll start kind of putting in some shadows where I think they belong. Anywhere there's a ridge or like under the lip here, it's underneath. We want to make sure that it looks like it's kind of going in, so we're going to give the illusion of depth. So we're going to put some shading lines there. Here in a moment, here I am shading in the bottom of his jaw because that's farther away. That's going to be, the sunlight's not going to hit that. I'll put some scratch marks there on the bottom of his chin, and that'll be more defined later when I do some inking. And I'll put a little bit more rendering on his upper lip, some scratches, some more shadows, and we're gonna make this look a little bit more kind of defined. Now, when I draw characters, usually I put a lot of collars on them. I like to cover up the neck a little bit. Thanos actually has some like shoulder pads and neck coverage a little bit, so this was pretty easy to do. When drawing this, you just kind of want to follow kind of like you're making a halo around his neck, but in the center it's going to be spaced out, and we're just going to kind of show that he has some kind of collar or metal plating around his upper body and shoulders and around his neck. Nothing too fancy, but you just want to make sure that opening is gonna line up with the center of his face and neck. And I'll put in a little bit more shadow here because it's going to be kind of like a placeholder for when I start inking. So in just a moment, I'm actually going to start inking. I'm going to be using a Sharpie and some Sakura Micron pens. I'm going to start first with the Sharpie and kind of get the outline done here. If I ever pull it out, there I am. So when I pull out the Sharpie here, I'm going to give him a very heavy outline. I like doing this with a lot of my drawings. If it overlaps with something, I like to give it a heavier outline, and if it's a curve, I like to give it kind of a big, heavy outline as well. It's just thicker than I usually do. So you'll see me kind of emphasize where there's curves, and I'm trying to make the outside a lot bigger. And I'm happy with the way this one's turning out so far. I'm really happy to do this. So whoever you are that suggested this, I'm glad you suggested it. It's a really cool piece to work on. I've never drawn Thanos before, but I actually spent like the night before practicing it. So I kind of came up with these steps on how to work on him. So I hope you guys enjoy. And also, if you guys have any suggestions on any future projects, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to do a video on it. But yeah, I hope you guys kind of enjoyed this little tutorial, and it's kind of different from what I usually do because this guy's a little bit more of a muscular character, and his face is a little bit misshapen and compared to like the normal human superheroes and things like that. So he's very exaggerated. So I really like that about characters like this, like the Hulk and things like that. Like the Hulk has very exaggerated features and muscles and things like that. Also, now you can see me kind of rendering in a little bit more of the scratches here on his face, because I want to make it look a little bit kind of war-torn, and like this guy is an old warrior kind of look. So yeah. And I'll just kind of go over all the lines I did with the thinner Sakura Micron pen, and I'll use the Sharpie to kind of show if something's overlapping. I'll make that line thicker, like I'll use it on his cheekbones and things like that, but I'll keep the trim around his actual face kind of thin. So after all that, we got the trim kind of filled in and the earpiece done. I actually put in a really heavy shadow here underneath the jawline at the base of the neck there. I'm just gonna fill it in with the Sharpie there, and I'll add a little bit of dark spots into the gold trim that's gonna be around his helmet, just to give it kind of a metallic look. But yeah, I'm very happy with the way Thanos turned out here. In just a moment, I'm actually gonna put up the finished product for you guys after I finish up, you know, with all these little scratch marks and things like that. But here is Thanos, and tell me what you guys think about it. And if you guys want to see anything else, please leave it in the comments below, and I will do a video on it. I believe the next video I'm going to do is actually going to be a how to draw Nightwing video, so keep a lookout for that. Okay guys, so at this portion of the video, I just want to say thank you very much for watching this video. And also, I'm going to leave you guys with a couple of links to some other videos I've done. So on the left, I'll put up a video to my last thing I put up, which is actually of me drawing Pikachu in some adorable funny looking Mega Evolution Pokemon costumes. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, go check that out. There's also some funny commentary on that. And on the right, I'll leave a link to my gaming channel. We're doing a playthrough of Pokemon there as well. Big fan of Pokemon here. So we're doing a playthrough of Pokemon Soul Silver on the right. There's a lot of funny commentary on there, so feel free to check that out. And I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.